In the vast, silent expanse of space, Earth hung like a blue jewel, its beauty and fragility apparent against the backdrop of the void. The tranquility of this scene, however, was about to be shattered in a way humanity had never imagined. The first sign of their coming was not seen by the naked eye, but detected by the far-reaching ears of our radio telescopes, a series of rapid, structured signals that defied natural explanation. These were no random emissions of a distant star or the background chatter of the universe, but a deliberate message. The world's scientific community was electrified. The possibility of extraterrestrial intelligence, long the subject of speculation and hope, was suddenly very real. As the world's governments and scientific bodies scrambled to decode and respond to the message, another, more immediate harbinger appeared in our sky. Ships of an unknown design, vast in size and number, materialized from the void, their approach silent, but their intent soon devastatingly clear. Their first act was not one of communication, but of aggression. Major cities around the globe were struck with precision, their defenses overwhelmed by the technological superiority of the attackers. It was a declaration of war beyond words, a clear message that coexistence was not their goal. Amid the chaos and destruction, humanity's response was swift. The nations of Earth, so often divided by petty disputes and rivalries, found a common cause like never before. The United Nations, transformed overnight into a global military council, coordinated the defense effort. Every resource, every bit of human ingenuity and resolve, was directed towards a singular purpose: survival. The aliens had expected many things of humanity: fear, chaos, disarray, but they had not anticipated the ferocity and determination of a species backed into a corner. Humans, it seemed, were not the easy conquest the invaders had expected. In the war rooms and laboratories, a plan began to take shape. It was audacious, born of desperation and the unique human capacity to innovate under pressure. The plan involved not just military might, but the mobilization of the world's greatest minds in science, technology, and even the humanities. Every field of human knowledge was harnessed in the effort to understand the enemy and find a weakness. The initial engagements were brutal. Human forces were outmatched in almost every respect. But with each skirmish, valuable data was collected, analyzed, and turned into knowledge. Weapons were adapted, strategies refined, and amidst the darkest hours, when hope seemed a distant memory, humanity's relentless spirit began to make itself known. Unbeknownst to the aliens, they had not chosen an ordinary planet to subjugate. They had chosen Earth, a cradle of life that had nurtured a species unparalleled in its tenacity and ingenuity. A species that, while capable of great violence, also possessed an indomitable will to survive and protect its home at all costs. As the first chapter of this unexpected war drew to a close, the aliens began to realize their mistake. Humanity was rallying, finding strength not just in weapons and warfare, but in the unity forged in the crucible of conflict. Across the devastated cities and scorched battlefields, a message was being sent, not with words but with action. Earth would not fall easily, the world holding its breath, not just in fear, but in anticipation. For the first time since the invasion began, there was a flicker of hope, a belief that perhaps, just perhaps, the tide could be turned. The determination of humanity was clear. They would fight for their planet, for their very right to exist, until the stars themselves went dark. As the dust settled from the initial assaults, humanity's resilience began to shine through the despair. The alien attackers, confident in their technological superiority, were taken aback by the fierce resistance mounted by the inhabitants of Earth. But it was not just the military response that surprised them. It was the spirit of the humans, their refusal to surrender, and their ability to adapt and counterattack. In the midst of this turmoil, a new element was introduced to the chessboard. Another extraterrestrial faction, until now hidden in the shadows of the greater galactic stage, made their presence known. Unlike the invaders, this new group sought not conquest but cooperation. They had been watching humanity's struggle with a mix of curiosity and admiration, recognizing in them a kindred spirit of survival and tenacity. This new alien species, calling themselves the Valari, reached out with a proposal: an alliance against the common foe. Their technology was on par with the invaders, but their numbers were fewer. They had been fighting a losing battle against the aggressors across the stars, and saw in humanity not just allies in war, but potential friends in peace. The offer was met with skepticism and fear. Trusting an alien species, especially in the wake of such a brutal invasion, was a hard sell to the nations of Earth. However, the potential benefits of such an alliance were too significant to ignore. In secret meetings, humanity's leaders and the Valari envoys hammered out the details of their cooperation. This alliance brought new weapons, strategies, and hope. The Valari shared their knowledge of the invaders, known as the Kryn, including their weaknesses and tactics. They provided technology that, while complex, could be adapted to human use with the combined efforts of Earth's brightest minds. Together, a joint counteroffensive was planned. The target was not just to repel the invaders from Earth, but to take the fight to them, to show that neither humanity nor the Valari would tolerate their aggression any longer. This bold strategy was a gamble, but it was one that both species were willing to take for the chance at a future free from tyranny. Training camps were established, where human soldiers and pilots could learn to operate the advanced technology provided by the Valari. It was a time of intense learning and preparation, with cultures clashing and blending in ways that none could have anticipated. Amidst the preparations for war, friendships were formed, and a deeper understanding between the two species began to emerge. The combined forces launched their counteroffensive, striking at key Kryn installations across the solar system. The element of surprise, coupled with the new tactics and technology, gave them an edge they had never had before. For the first time, the Kryn found themselves on the defensive, reeling from the ferocity and ingenuity of their opponents. As battles raged in space and on the surfaces of moons and planets, the people of Earth watched with bated breath. The alliance was a beacon of hope, a sign that they were not alone in the universe, and that cooperation and friendship were possible even across the vast distances of space. With the alliance between humanity and the Valari growing stronger by the day, the combined forces began to push the Kryn back with a series of tactical victories that surprised both friend and foe alike. The third chapter in this saga of resilience and unity unfolds as the tide of war starts to turn in favor of Earth and its extraterrestrial allies. The Kryn, confounded by the sudden shift in the battle's momentum, found themselves outmaneuvered and outgunned for the first time since their incursion began. The secrets shared by the Valari, coupled with human ingenuity and the indomitable spirit of Earth's defenders, proved to be a formidable force. Amidst the chaos of war, a daring plan was conceived to strike at the heart of the Kryn command structure. Intelligence gathered by Valari scouts pinpointed the location of a Kryn command ship, orbiting a desolate moon far from Earth. Capturing or destroying this ship could deal a crippling blow to the Kryn's operational capabilities and morale. A team of human and Valari specialists was assembled for this high-stakes mission. Among them were pilots, engineers, and soldiers from both species, each bringing their unique skills and knowledge to the table. The mission was risky, with the team having to infiltrate enemy territory, board the heavily guarded command ship, and either capture or neutralize it. The journey to the moon was fraught with danger. Kryn patrols were everywhere, and the team had to navigate through hostile space with stealth and cunning. But the humans and Valari had learned much from each other, and their combined tactics allowed them to reach their destination undetected. The battle to take the command ship was fierce. Kryn defenders fought desperately, but the element of surprise and the determination of the attackers carried the day. The ship was captured, and with it valuable intelligence on the Kryn strategies, technology, and vulnerabilities. This victory was more than just a military triumph. It was a symbol of what could be achieved when two very different species worked together towards a common goal. News of the mission's success spread like wildfire across Earth and the Valari homeworlds, bolstering morale and solidifying the bond between the allies. With the information obtained from the Kryn command ship, the Alliance was able to launch targeted strikes against critical Kryn installations and fleets, further turning the tide of the war. Each victory brought Earth and the Valari closer to the ultimate goal of driving the Kryn from the solar system and securing peace. But the Kryn were not defeated yet. They launched a series of counterattacks, desperate to regain the initiative. The war escalated, with battles raging across multiple fronts. Earth and its allies found themselves tested as never before, their resolve and resources pushed to the limit. In the darkest hours of this conflict, the bonds forged in battle between humans and Valari shone the brightest. Acts of heroism and sacrifice were common, with each species learning from and leaning on the other. The alliance had become more than a military pact. It was a deep mutual respect and friendship that had been forged in the fires of war. The alliance between Earth and the Valari, once a desperate gamble, had begun to bear fruit. The joint counteroffensive had pushed the Kryn forces back, buying precious time for Earth to regroup and for the alliance to solidify its position. However, the Kryn were far from defeated. They regrouped and launched counterattacks, aiming to break the newfound unity between Earth and the Valari. In response, the alliance initiated Operation Starfall, a bold strategy designed to disrupt the Kryn's command structure and supply lines. The operation relied heavily on the element of surprise, utilizing stealth technology provided by the Valari to infiltrate key Kryn strongholds. The heart of this operation was a series of coordinated strikes across multiple systems, targeting Kryn supply depots, communication arrays, and command ships. The success of these missions was critical, not just for the immediate tactical advantage, but also to send a clear message. The alliance was not just defending, it was taking the fight to the enemy. Among the volunteers for these missions were Earth's finest soldiers and pilots, who had undergone intensive training with the Valari to master their advanced technology. These individuals had become the bridge between the two cultures, embodying the potential for a future where humanity could take its place among the stars as equals and allies. One such mission involved a daring assault on a Kryn command vessel orbiting a contested planet. The team, comprised of both human and Valari operatives, used a captured Kryn shuttle to approach undetected. The ensuing battle was fierce, with the team facing overwhelming odds. However, their determination and the element of surprise turned the tide, resulting in the capture of the vessel and a treasure trove of intelligence on the Kryn's operations. Meanwhile, on Earth and Valari worlds, the civilian populations rallied to support the war effort. The shared threat of the Kryn had forged strong bonds between these diverse peoples, leading to unprecedented cooperation in science, engineering, and cultural exchange. The war had become a crucible for a new era of interstellar partnership. As the successes of Operation Starfall began to mount, the balance of power shifted. The Kryn, accustomed to being the aggressors, found themselves outmaneuvered and outgunned. The Alliance's strategy of targeting their infrastructure had crippled their ability to maintain a prolonged offensive, forcing them into a defensive stance. In the war rooms of Earth and the Valari command centers, the leaders and strategists began to see a path to victory. It was clear that the war was not yet won, and many challenges lay ahead. But the successes of the joint operations had proven that the Kryn could be defeated. With momentum building from their recent victories, the Alliance prepared for what many believed would be the pivotal confrontation of the war. Intelligence gathered during Operation Starfall had unveiled the location of the Kryn's central command hub, hidden within the dense asteroid belt of a distant system. Dubbed the Heart of Darkness by Alliance strategists, this fortress was the key to the Kryn's operational capabilities in the sector. The plan to assault the Heart of Darkness was ambitious and fraught with risk. The asteroid belt offered the Kryn natural defenses, allowing them to hide their installations and ships within a maze of tumbling rock. Navigating this hazardous terrain would require precision flying, and the Kryn had fortified their position with an array of sensor nets, automated defense platforms, and a fleet of warships ready to respond to any incursion. Undeterred, the Alliance assembled a task force of the best pilots and soldiers from both species, equipped with ships modified for stealth and combat in the dense asteroid field. The mission was twofold: destroy the Kryn's command infrastructure and capture its leaders, dealing a crippling blow to their war effort and morale. As the task force made its final preparations, the air was thick with tension but also determination. These men and women knew the stakes were higher than ever. Success would not only secure a strategic advantage, but also symbolize the strength and unity of the alliance. The operation commenced with a series of feints and diversions, attacks on peripheral Kryn outposts designed to draw their forces away from the heart of darkness. Meanwhile, the main strike team navigated the asteroid belt, using the debris for cover as they closed in on their target. The battle that ensued was fierce and chaotic. The Kryn, caught off guard by the audacity of the assault, scrambled to mount a defense. The Alliance forces, leveraging their superior agility and the element of surprise, inflicted devastating blows on the Kryn installations. Yet the Kryn were not easily defeated. They fought back with ruthless efficiency, unleashing swarms of drones and elite fighters. In the midst of this chaos, a smaller team of commandos, including both human and valari operatives, infiltrated the command hub itself. Their mission was to sabotage the hub's core systems and capture key Kryn leaders. The fighting within the narrow corridors of the installation was intense, a desperate struggle against Kryn soldiers determined to protect their leaders at all costs. Meanwhile, outside, the battle turned in favor of the Alliance. The destruction of the Kryn sensor nets and defense platforms allowed the larger Alliance fleet to move in, engaging the Kryn warships in a decisive confrontation. It was a spectacle of light and fury, as beams lanced through the darkness of space and ships exploded into brilliant clouds of fire and debris. The climax of the battle came as the commandos succeeded in their mission, capturing several high-ranking Kryn officers and sabotaging the hub's core systems, triggering a catastrophic failure that rendered the installation inoperable. The loss of the Heart of Darkness sent shockwaves through the Kryn forces, sowing confusion and disarray. As the Alliance forces withdrew, their ships laden with prisoners and valuable intelligence, they knew they had achieved a significant victory. The Kryn Central Command had been shattered, and with it, their ability to coordinate their forces effectively. In the wake of the successful assault on the Heart of Darkness, a palpable shift occurred in the war's dynamics. The Kryn, once an implacable and seemingly invincible foe, were now on the defensive, their operations thrown into disarray by the loss of their central command. For the first time since the invasion began, the people of Earth and the Valari saw a glimmer of real hope, not just for survival, but for victory. The Alliance wasted no time capitalizing on this momentum. With the Kryn's communication and coordination capabilities severely compromised, human and Valari forces launched a series of coordinated strikes across multiple fronts, targeting key strategic positions and liberating worlds that had fallen under Kryn control. Each victory served to bolster the morale of the Alliance, while further demoralizing the Kryn forces. Amidst these strategic offensives, a different kind of mission was taking place, a diplomatic endeavor aimed at solidifying the Alliance and broadening its base of support. Representatives from Earth and the Valari, including diplomats, scientists, and military leaders, embarked on a journey to neighboring star systems, seeking to enlist other civilizations in their cause against the Kryn. These diplomatic missions revealed the broader galactic context into which humanity had so suddenly been thrust. The galaxy was a tapestry of diverse species and civilizations, each with its own history, culture, and perspective on the Kryn invasion. Many had suffered under the Kryn's expansionist policies and were eager for a chance to push back, but fear and isolation had prevented them from taking action. The Alliance's victories, particularly the fall of the Heart of Darkness, served as a beacon, inspiring these civilizations to come forward and join the fight. With each new ally, the Alliance's strength grew, not just in terms of military might, but in the wealth of knowledge and experience these new partners brought to the table. Back on Earth and the Valari homeworld, the influx of alien cultures and technologies sparked a renaissance of sorts. Scientists and engineers from dozens of civilizations collaborated on new projects, blending their knowledge to create technologies that were greater than the sum of their parts. Meanwhile, cultural exchanges enriched the lives of all involved, fostering a sense of galactic community that had previously seemed an unattainable dream. As the Alliance expanded, so too did its capabilities. A grand fleet was assembled, incorporating ships and technologies from across the galaxy, unified under a single banner. This fleet, the largest and most diverse ever seen, represented not just a military force, but a symbol of the galaxy's newfound unity against the Kryn threat. The target was a Kryn stronghold, a fortress world that served as a linchpin in their remaining defenses. Victory here would not only secure a critical strategic advantage, but could potentially break the Kryn's will to continue the fight. As the Grand Fleet gathered, ready to launch into the unknown, the people of Earth, the Valari, and their new allies stood together, united in purpose and resolve. They knew the battle ahead would be difficult, and the cost high, but the stakes were nothing less than the freedom of the galaxy. It was a new dawn, not just for those who fought under the Alliance's banner, but for all beings who yearned for a future free from tyranny and fear. The victory at the heart of darkness had far-reaching consequences, reverberating through the corridors of power on both sides of the conflict. The Kryn Empire, once thought invincible, was shown to be vulnerable. The Alliance's triumph emboldened other species and factions across the galaxy, sparking uprisings and rebellions against Kryn dominion in distant systems. Meanwhile, Earth and the Valari worked to consolidate their gains, fortifying their positions and extending their reach to aid those who sought to throw off the yoke of Kryn oppression. The Alliance, once a necessity of survival, had evolved into something greater, a beacon of hope for freedom and self-determination across the stars. The Kryn, in their hubris, had underestimated humanity and the Valari, igniting a fire they could no longer control. Their military, stretched thin by the multi-front rebellion and the loss of their central command, began to fracture. Discontent and dissent spread through their ranks as the once unquestioned superiority of their empire was challenged. Amid this galactic turmoil, the Alliance launched Operation Liberatus, a campaign designed to support uprisings and liberate systems under Kryn control. Special Forces teams, combined units of human and Valari operatives, were deployed on clandestine missions to arm rebels, sabotage Kryn installations, and spread the message of resistance. One such mission took the team to a world on the brink of revolt, where the Kryn had imposed a brutal regime to extract precious resources. The planet's inhabitants, once peaceful, had been pushed to the edge of despair and were now ready to fight for their freedom. The arrival of the Alliance operatives with weapons and training ignited the spark of rebellion into a raging inferno. As uprisings flared across the galaxy, the Kryn found themselves fighting not just a military adversary, but an idea, the belief in the right of all beings to live free from tyranny. This was a war they were ill-prepared to wage, and their attempts to quell the uprisings only fueled the flames of resistance. The Alliance's strategy was not merely to defeat the Kryn militarily, but to dismantle the very foundations of their empire. By supporting these rebellions, they aimed to free the galaxy from fear and oppression, enabling a new era of cooperation and peace among its diverse inhabitants. However, victory was not without cost. The liberated worlds bore the scars of occupation and conflict, and the path to rebuilding was long and fraught with challenges. The Alliance, recognizing its responsibility, committed to aiding these worlds in their recovery, sharing resources, technology, and knowledge. While the war was far from over, the successes of Operation Liberatus had shifted the balance of power. The galaxy was changing, and for the first time in centuries, there was hope that the future might belong to the free. The alliances forged in the crucible of war, between humans, the Valari, and now countless other liberated species, stood as a testament to what could be achieved when diverse peoples united for a common cause. The struggle ahead would require all their strength, wisdom, and courage, but together they had already begun to shape a new destiny for the galaxy. As the tides of war shifted in favor of the Alliance and their newfound allies across the galaxy, a different kind of battle began, one not fought with weapons, but with words, diplomacy, and the arduous task of rebuilding. The aftermath of the conflict presented a galaxy fragmented and scarred, its societies and economies devastated by years of oppression and warfare. Yet amid the ruins there was an undeniable spark of hope. a chance to build a future defined not by conflict, but by cooperation. The alliance, now expanded to include representatives from numerous liberated worlds, convened to address the monumental task of post-war recovery. This coalition, known as the Galactic Council, aimed to lay the foundations for a new galactic order based on mutual respect, sovereignty, and peaceful coexistence. One of the Council's first acts was to establish the Reconstruction Initiative, a comprehensive plan to provide humanitarian aid, rebuild infrastructure, and support political reforms in the systems affected by the war. Earth and the Valari, drawing from their own experiences of resilience and recovery, played leading roles in these efforts, offering resources, technology, and expertise. Meanwhile, the Kryn remnants, now leaderless and scattered, posed a lingering threat. Isolated factions continued to resist, refusing to accept the changing tide of the galaxy. The Council, determined to prevent these elements from reigniting the flames of war, established the Peacekeeper Corps. This force, comprised of volunteers from across the Alliance, was tasked with stabilizing regions still marred by conflict and ensuring the safety of reconstruction teams. Among the ruins of a world that had seen some of the fiercest fighting, a symbol of the new era was to be found. The planet, once a strategic stronghold for the Kryn, was now home to the Peace Memorial, a monument to the lives lost in the conflict and a testament to the galactic community's commitment to peace. The memorial became a pilgrimage site for beings from across the galaxy, serving as a poignant reminder of the costs of war and the value of peace. However, the path to peace was not without its challenges. Old grievances and cultural misunderstandings threatened to unravel the fragile unity the Council had forged. The diversity of the galaxy's inhabitants, once a source of strength, also presented obstacles to harmony and mutual understanding. It was in these moments that the true strength of the alliance was tested. Diplomats and mediators worked tirelessly to bridge the gaps between worlds, fostering dialogue and empathy. Cultural exchange programs and interstellar summits became commonplace, as representatives from different species shared their traditions, hopes, and dreams for the future. As the galaxy began to heal, the stories of heroism and sacrifice from the war served as a bond between the diverse peoples of the Council. They realized that their shared experiences, their combined efforts to overcome darkness and despair, had sown the seeds for a unity that transcended borders and species. While the shadows of the past lingered, the light of progress and understanding shone ever brighter. The Galactic Council, representing a myriad of voices and perspectives, continued its work, guiding the galaxy toward a future where peace was not just an ideal, but a reality. The legacy of the alliance between Earth and the Valari, born out of necessity in the face of annihilation, had evolved into a vision for a united galaxy. This vision, still in its infancy, faced many hurdles, but the foundation laid by those who had dared to dream of peace promised a horizon filled with potential. As the alliance's influence expanded, bringing more systems into its fold and inspiring uprisings throughout the galaxy, the Kryn Empire found itself backed into a corner. But desperation breeds ruthlessness, and the Kryn launched a counteroffensive aimed at the heart of the burgeoning alliance. Unity, a newly established space station that served as a symbol of the cooperative effort between humans, the Valari, and other free peoples of the galaxy. Unity Station, orbiting a neutral world, was a hub of diplomacy, trade, and military coordination. It represented the Alliance's ideals, and its strategic importance made it a prime target for the Kryn. Their attack was not just an attempt to deal a tactical blow, but to shatter the symbol of interstellar resistance and cooperation. The Kryn amassed a fleet, the size of which had not been seen since the war began, equipped with their most advanced weaponry and commanded by their most ruthless generals. As they advanced, a sense of dread spread across the galaxy. The impending battle for Unity Station was set to be a defining moment in the war. The Alliance, aware of the Kryn's intentions, prepared for a siege. Reinforcements from across the galaxy rallied to defend Unity, resulting in an unprecedented gathering of diverse species and fleets, united in their determination to defend the symbol of their unity. As the Kryn fleet approached, the defenders of Unity braced themselves. The battle began with a barrage of energy fire lighting up the void of space, a terrifying display of power. The defenders, however, were not easily intimidated. Utilizing the station's advanced defense systems, along with the combined might of the Allied fleets, they mounted a formidable resistance. The siege of Unity Station unfolded over days, with neither side willing to relent. The station, while heavily fortified, was under constant threat from the Kryn's relentless assaults. Yet, the morale of its defenders never wavered. If anything, the siege reinforced their resolve to stand together against the oppressor. Amid the chaos of battle, acts of heroism and sacrifice emerged from both known and unexpected quarters. A pilot from a small, previously subjugated species led a daring assault that took down a Kryn dreadnought, while a human valari engineering team kept the station's shields operational against overwhelming odds, ensuring the survival of the station and its inhabitants. In a bold move, a contingent of special forces, comprised of members from various Alliance species, launched a counter-boarding action against the Kryn flagship. The operation, risky and fraught with danger, aimed to take the fight directly to the enemy and disrupt their command and control capabilities. The turning point came when the Special Forces team managed to capture the Kryn flagship's bridge, effectively decapitating the enemy's command structure. With their leadership in disarray, the Kryn forces began to falter, allowing the Alliance to press their advantage. The siege ended with the withdrawal of the Kryn fleet, leaving behind a battered but unbroken Unity station. The victory was celebrated not just as a military triumph, but as a testament to the strength of the Alliance and the enduring spirit of cooperation and resilience among its members. In the aftermath of the galaxy-wide rebellion, the remnants of the Kryn Empire were scattered and diminished. Their reign of terror, which had lasted for centuries, was finally brought to an end. The alliance between Earth and the Valari, strengthened by their shared victories and sacrifices, stood at the forefront of a new galactic order. The final chapter of this epic struggle began with the signing of the Treaty of Unity, held on a neutral planet that had been ravaged by the war, but was now a symbol of peace and cooperation. Representatives from countless species, including humans, the Valari, and many who had fought for their freedom from the Kryn, gathered to lay the foundations for a united galactic community. This new alliance was not built on the dominance of one species over another, but on mutual respect, cooperation, and shared prosperity. The treaty outlined the principles of governance, defense, and economic collaboration, ensuring that the dark days of the Kryn's rule would never be repeated. One of the first initiatives was the establishment of the Galactic Reconstruction Fund, aimed at rebuilding war-torn worlds and supporting their integration into the galactic community. Technology and knowledge were shared freely, with humans and the Valari playing key roles in these efforts, leveraging their experience from the war to aid others in their recovery. The transition was not without its challenges. Old rivalries and grievances lingered, and some factions struggled to adapt to the new order. However, the overwhelming desire for peace and stability, hard-won through years of conflict, drove the majority towards cooperation rather than division. On Earth and Valari Prime, the mood was one of celebration, but also reflection. Memorials were erected to honor those who had fallen, ensuring that their sacrifices would never be forgotten. The stories of bravery, loss, and eventual triumph were chronicled, to be passed down through generations as a testament to the spirit of unity that had saved the galaxy. Humanity, once isolated on the edge of the galactic stage, emerged as key players in the new era. Their resilience, ingenuity, and capacity for compassion had earned them the respect and friendship of countless species. The Valari, too, were hailed as heroes, their decision to reach out to humanity and stand against the Kryn vindicated. As the new galactic alliance began to take shape, its leaders turned their eyes towards the future. The task of building a lasting peace was daunting, but the foundations were strong. Across the galaxy, worlds began to thrive once again, their skies free from the shadow of tyranny. The final scene of this story is set on a rebuilt world, where children of different species play together under the watchful eyes of their parents. The laughter and joy are a poignant reminder of what had been fought for, a future where all can live in peace and prosperity. This chapter, and the story, concludes on a note of hope and determination. The war had been won, but the journey to forge a lasting peace was just beginning. The legacy of those who had fought and sacrificed would be a united galaxy, where the stars were no longer battlegrounds but beacons of light guiding the way forward. The end of the war marked not an ending, but the dawn of a new era. An era where the best of humanity's fiction, HFY stories, of courage, unity, and the indomitable human spirit, had become not just tales to inspire, but a reality to live by.